The sky above South Korea turned bright orange as something massive fell through the clouds. People in the cities below stopped and stared upward, some reaching for their phones to record what they thought might be a meteor. But this was no meteor. The object was enormous, easily the size of 10 football fields, and it was clearly trying not to crash. Small explosions erupted from its sides as it fought against gravity, leaving trails of green and purple fire across the evening sky. Commander Hyun-woo was in his office at the military base when the alarms started screaming. He ran to the operations center where dozens of screens showed the falling object from every angle. Satellite images revealed its true nature. This was a spacecraft, and it was damaged badly. Hull plates hung loose, entire sections were missing, and whatever power source it used was flickering like a dying light bulb. The ship crashed into the mountains, 200 kilometers east of Seoul. The impact shook the ground so hard that people felt it in the city. Hyun-woo gathered his team immediately. Lieutenant Min-ji grabbed her equipment bag. Dr. Bora loaded her scanning devices into a case. And within 30 minutes they were in a helicopter heading toward the crash site. What they found took their breath away. The alien ship had carved a path of destruction through the forest, leaving burning trees and melted rock in its wake. But the ship itself was still mostly intact. It sat in a valley like a sleeping giant, its hull made of some kind of metal that seemed to shift colors in the fading light. Strange symbols glowed weakly along its sides. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Hyun-woo ordered his soldiers to secure the perimeter while he, Min-ji, and Bora approached the ship on foot. Up close, it was even more impressive. The hull was warm to the touch and covered in intricate patterns that might have been decorative or functional. None of them could tell. Bora ran her scanner over the surface, and her eyes went wide. "This metal," she whispered. "It's not just metal. It's alive somehow. Look at this." She pointed to a section where the hull had been torn open. Even as they watched, the edges of the tear were slowly trying to pull back together. Like skin healing over a wound, they found an entrance, or what looked like one. A large oval door hung partially open, sparks occasionally shooting from its edges. Hyun-woo drew his pistol, knowing it was probably useless against whatever might be inside, and led the way in. The interior was dark, except for the emergency lights that pulsed with a sickly yellow glow. The corridors were wide and tall, built for creatures bigger than humans. The ship appeared to be abandoned. They found no bodies, no crew, nothing but empty rooms and broken equipment. In what looked like the command center, huge screens showed star maps that meant nothing to them. A large chair sat in the middle of the room, covered in cables and surrounded by controls that seemed designed for hands with too many fingers. "They left," Min-ji said, her voice echoing in the empty chamber. "They crashed here and just left their ship behind." Bora was examining a console, her scanner working overtime. "This technology is incredible. I'm detecting power sources that shouldn't be possible. And these weapon systems, even damaged, they could level a city without breaking a sweat. Why would they abandon something this valuable?" Hyun-woo understood. He had seen the arrogance in his years dealing with the alien presence in Earth's orbit. The Talvith, as they called themselves, had been using Earth like a rest stop for decades. They took what they wanted, studied humans like animals, and never bothered to communicate as equals. To them, we're too primitive to understand any of this. They probably thought the ship was too damaged to be useful, and were too stupid to fix it even if we tried. Over the next few days, more teams arrived. Engineers from Korea, Japan, America, Europe, and everywhere else came to study the wreckage. The world's governments, for once, agreed on something. This ship was humanity's chance to level the playing field. The Talvith had been treating Earth like their property for too long. If humans could understand this technology, maybe they could finally fight back. Dr. Bora led the initial analysis team. She discovered that the ship's main reactor was still functional, just offline. The propulsion system used principles of physics that human scientists had only theorized about. The weapons were beyond anything Earth could produce. And most importantly, the ship's computer core was still intact. Damaged, but intact. Hyun-woo watched as hundreds of people swarmed over the ship like ants on a fallen apple. Welders cut away damaged sections, Technicians mapped out the electrical systems, and linguists tried to decode the alien writing covering every surface. It was chaos, but organized chaos. Everyone understood what was at stake. One night, Han-Wu stood alone on a ridge overlooking the crash site. The ship was lit up by floodlights, casting long shadows across the valley. Mingy joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Do you think we can actually do this?" she asked. "Repair an alien warship with technology centuries ahead of ours?" Han-Wu took the coffee and drank it slowly before answering. "I don't know, but I know we have to try. The Talvith have been pushing us around because they think we're weak. They take our resources, abduct our people, and treat us like we don't matter. This ship is our chance to show them they're wrong." Minji nodded. "The engineering teams think they can get the reactor online within 6 months. Maybe a year for the weapons systems. But the propulsion system, that's going to take longer. We don't even understand the basic principles yet." "Then we learn," Han-Wu said firmly. "Humans are good at learning. We went from horse-drawn carts to spacecraft in less than a century. We can figure this out." A young engineer named Decian ran up the ridge, out of breath and excited. "Commander, you need to see this. We found something in the command center. Some kind of interface port. Dr. Bora thinks it's designed to connect directly to a pilot's nervous system. The ship doesn't just respond to controls. It reads the pilot's thoughts." Han-Wu and Minji followed Daehyun back down to the ship. In the command center, Bora had set up her equipment around the central chair. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing complex diagrams of brain activity and electrical patterns. "This is how they fly these ships," Bora explained, barely containing her excitement. "The pilot connects directly to the ship's systems. They become one with the machine. It's not just faster than manual controls. It's exponentially more efficient. The ship can respond to threats before the pilot even consciously registers them." Han-Wu studied the chair, the cables, the interface ports. "Can a human use it?" Bora hesitated. "Theoretically, yes. The system seems designed to adapt to different biological patterns, but the neural load would be enormous. The pilot would be processing information faster than the human brain evolved to handle. It could be dangerous. It could even be fatal." Han-Wu touched the chair gently, feeling the strange material under his fingers. This was it. This was humanity's chance to stop being victims and start being equals. Whatever it took, whatever the risk, they would make this work. "Get me everything you can on this system," he ordered. "I want to know how it works, what it does, and how we can adapt it for human use. We're going to fly this ship. And when we do, the Talvith are going to regret ever coming to Earth." 18 months had passed since the Talvith warship crashed into the Korean mountains. The crash site had transformed into something that looked more like a massive factory than a research facility. Thousands of workers operated in shifts around the clock every single day. The ship that the aliens had abandoned as worthless scrap was slowly coming back to life. Rebuilt by human hands and human determination, Daehyun had become the lead engineer on the neural interface project. He spent his days and most of his nights studying the system that allowed Talvith pilots to merge their minds with their ships. The more he learned, the more amazed he became. The aliens had built something that was part machine and part living organism. The ship could think, in a way, it could learn and adapt. It just needed a mind to guide it. The breakthrough came on a cold morning in November. Daehyun was running his 1000th simulation when he noticed something the team had missed before. The neural interface had multiple compatibility modes. It was not locked to Talvith's biology alone. The system could adapt to any species with a sufficiently complex nervous system, including humans. He ran to find Commander Han-Wu, nearly knocking over a cart of equipment in his excitement. Han-Wu was in a meeting with the International Oversight Committee, but Daehyun did not care. He burst into the room and pulled up his data on the main screen. "It will work," Daehyun said, breathing hard. "The interface will accept a human pilot. Look at these readings. The system is designed to adapt. We just need to train someone to handle the neural load." The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Dr. Bora stood up and examined the data carefully. She ran her own calculations, checked the numbers twice, then looked at Hyenwu with a mixture of excitement and worry. He is right, she said. But the training will be brutal. The human brain is not designed to process information at the speed this system requires. We would need to condition the pilot slowly, over months, maybe years. And even then, there is risk. The neural load could cause permanent damage. It could even kill them. Hyenwu did not hesitate. I will do it. I will be the pilot. Lieutenant Minji stood up immediately. Then I am coming too. You will need a co-pilot, someone to handle secondary systems while you focus on flying. 2 more people volunteered before the meeting ended. Guan, a tactical specialist who had been studying the weapons systems, wanted to control the ship's offensive capabilities. Taiyang, a young hotshot from the Air Force, practically begged to join the crew. Within a week, they had assembled a team of 4 people, who would become the first humans to fly an alien warship. The training was harder than anything any of them had experienced. They started with simple exercises, connecting to the neural interface for just a few seconds at a time. Even those brief connections were overwhelming. Hyenwu described it as trying to drink from a waterfall. Information flooded into his mind faster than he could process it. Ship diagnostics, power levels, system statuses, environmental data, all hitting his brain at once. But humans are adaptable. Each day, they could handle a little more. Each week, they stayed connected a little longer. Hyenwu learned to filter the information, to focus on what mattered, and let the rest flow past. Minji developed an almost instinctive understanding of the ship's systems. Giwan could target potential threats before they even registered as dangerous. Taiyang learned to feel the ship's movement as if it were his own body. While the crew trained, other teams worked on the ship itself. The reactor had been brought back online 6 months earlier, a moment of triumph that had the entire facility cheering. But a working reactor was just the beginning. Every system needed to be repaired, tested, and often redesigned to work with human operators. Engineer Hannah led the whole repair team. She had discovered that the ship's self-repairing material could be stimulated to work faster by applying specific electromagnetic frequencies. What would have taken years of natural healing could be done in months with human help. She also developed a hybrid armor system, combining the alien material with human-designed reactive plating. The result was protection that was even better than the original. Kung Su worked on the weapons. The Talvith had built their guns to be powerful, but straightforward. Point at target, fire, destroy. Kung Su improved them by integrating human targeting computers and predictive algorithms. The weapons would not just hit where the enemy was. It would hit where the enemy was going to be. The ship began to wake up. Lights that had been dark for over a year started glowing again. Computer systems booted up, displaying information in alien text that the linguistics team was frantically translating. The reactor hummed with power, drawing energy from somewhere beyond normal physics. And in the command center, the neural interface chair waited for its first human pilot. The day of the first full connection arrived. Hyenwu sat in the chair while technicians attached the interface cables to ports it surgically implanted at the base of his skull. The procedure had been done months ago, and the ports had healed well. But he still felt nervous every time they plugged him in. Dr. Bora monitored his vital signs from a console nearby. Heart rate elevated but stable. Brain activity normal. "We are ready when you are, Commander." Hyenwu took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Activate the interface. The connection hit him like lightning. Suddenly, he was not just Hyenwu anymore. He was the ship. He could feel every damaged plate, every repaired system, every humming wire. The reactor was his heart, pumping power through energy conduits that were his veins. The sensors were his eyes, showing him the world in ways human eyes never could. He could see in infrared and ultraviolet, detect radio waves and gravitational distortions. But there was something else. A presence. An intelligence that was not his own, but not entirely separate either. The ship was alive, in a way. It had awareness. And it was curious about him. "Commander, your neural activity is off the charts," Bora said, her voice tight with worry. "Do you need me to disconnect you?" "No," Hyenwu managed to say through the flood of sensation. "I am okay." It is just intense. The ship, it is testing me. Trying to understand what I am, he felt the ship's confusion. It had been built to serve Talvith warriors, aggressive and dominating. But Hyan-Wu was different. His mind carried different patterns, different values. The ship did not know what to make of him. Hyan-Wu spoke to the ship, not with words, but with thoughts and feelings. He showed it images of Earth, of humanity, of everything that Talvith had done to his people. He let the ship feel his determination, his anger, but also his compassion. Humans did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for dignity, for the right to exist without being someone else's victim. Something shifted in the connection. The ship's resistance faded. It stopped testing him and started listening. For the first time in its existence, it was being piloted by someone who wanted to protect rather than conquer. "I am getting stable readings," Bora announced, relief clear in her voice. "Neural synchronization at 73% and rising. Commander, I think it is working. I think the ship is accepting you." Hyan-Wu opened his eyes, but he was still seeing through the ship's sensors at the same time. It was disorienting, but manageable. He thought about moving, and the ship responded. Not with engines or thrusters, but with intention. The massive vessel shifted slightly, adjusting its position with perfect precision. Mingi, Chguan, and Taiyang connected to their stations. Hyan-Wu felt them join the network, their minds linking with his and with the ship. They were becoming a single entity for human minds and one alien intelligence working together. "This is incredible," Mingi breathed. "I can feel everything. Every system is like an extension of my body." "Weapons are online and responding," Jiwan reported. "I have never seen targeting this accurate. I could hit a specific window from orbit." Taiyang laughed with pure joy. "The engines are purring. We could fly circles around anything in human space. Hell, we could probably outrun most Talvith ships." Hyan-Wu felt pride swell in his chest. They had done it. They had taken alien technology that should have been beyond their understanding and made it their own. The Talvith had thought humans were too primitive to matter. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Log this moment," Hyan-Wu ordered. "Today, humanity stops being victims and becomes warriors. This ship has a new name now. She is no longer the Sovereign's Fury. From now on, she is the Indomitable. And she is going to teach the galaxy to respect humanity." The first flight test almost killed them all. Hyan-Wu sat in the command chair, with the neural interface active, feeling the Indomitable's systems merge with his consciousness. Minji, Jiwan, and Taiyang were connected to their stations, their minds linked to his through the ship's network. Everything had worked perfectly in simulations. But simulations and reality were very different things. "Initiating launch sequence," Hyan-Wu said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "All crew, prepare for liftoff." The ship's engines came to life with a sound like thunder. Power surged through systems that had been dormant for 2 years. The ground beneath them cracked as anti-gravity fields pushed against the planet's pole. Slowly, impossibly, the massive warship began to rise. Then everything went wrong at once. The moment they cleared the mountain ridge, the ship's threat detection systems activated. To the Indomitable, every human satellite in orbit looked like a potential enemy. Targeting solutions appeared in Hyan-Wu's mind for hundreds of objects. The weapon systems began charging automatically, preparing to destroy everything in range. "No, no, no," Giwan shouted from his station. "The guns are hot. They are locking onto commercial satellites, military platforms, everything. I cannot shut them down." Hyan-Wu felt the ship's aggression like a living thing inside his mind. The Indomitable had been bred for war across 1,000 battlefields. It wanted to fight. It wanted to destroy anything that might be a threat. His connection to the ship meant he could feel its urges, and they were overwhelming. "Too much input," Taiyang gasped, his hands shaking on the controls. "The propulsion system is going crazy. We are accelerating too fast. At this rate, we will be out of Earth's atmosphere in 30 seconds. Minji's fingers flew across her console, desperately trying to reroute systems through human safety protocols. "I am working on it." The ship's IFF system does not recognize anything as friendly. It thinks we are in the middle of a battle. Dr. Bora's voice crackled over the cum from the ground station. Commander, your neural activity is reaching dangerous levels. We need to abort the test. Bring the ship down now. But Heianwu could not bring the ship down. The Indomitable was in control, not him. He gritted his teeth and pushed back against the flood of alien instincts. The ship wanted to be a weapon. It wanted to strike first and destroy everything. But Heianwu was human, and humans were stubborn. Listen to me, he said out loud, knowing the ship could sense his thoughts. We are not the Talvith. We do not destroy without reason. These satellites are not threats. These are tools, communications, navigation aids. If you want to fly with me, you will learn the difference between a threat and an innocent bystander. Or I swear I will tear out your core and fly you manually. The threat was empty. There was no way to fly the ship manually at this level. But Heianwu poured every ounce of determination he had into the thought. He showed the ship images of human civilization. Cities full of people who were not warriors. Children playing in parks. Scientists working in laboratories. Farmers growing food. All the things that made humanity worth protecting. Something changed. The ship's aggression ebbed like a tide going out. The weapons systems powered down. The wild acceleration stabilized. Heianwu felt the ship's consciousness shift from predator mode to something more like curiosity. It was still confused about him, about humans in general, but it was willing to learn. Neural sync stabilizing, Bora reported, relief flooding her voice. Whatever you did, it worked. The ship is responding to your commands now. Heianwu let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Minji, integrate our IFF protocols with the ship's systems. Giwan set the weapons to require manual authorization for any firing solution. Taiyang, bring us to a stable orbit. Nice and slow. The crew worked together, their minds still linked through the ship's network. It was strange, being able to feel what his teammates were thinking, to sense their emotions and intentions. But it was also powerful. They could coordinate without speaking, reacting to situations before they became problems. The Indomitable settled into orbit 3.
100 kilometers above Earth's surface.
Through the ship's sensors, Heianwu could see the planet below in perfect detail. He could count individual buildings in Seoul. He could watch waves breaking on distant beaches. The ship's eyes were far better than human eyes could ever be. All systems nominal, Minji reported. We are maintaining stable orbit. No further anomalies detected. Guan ran a full diagnostic on the weapons arrays. Everything checks out. The main cannons are online and responding to manual control. Point defense systems are active. Missile tubes are loaded and ready. We have enough firepower to level a small country. Let us hope we never have to use it on Earth, Heianwu said quietly. Taiyang, give me a full engine test. I want to know what this ship can do. What followed was the most exhilarating hour of Heianwu's life. The Indomitable moved through space like a dancer. Her engines could push her to incredible speeds, then stop on a single point with perfect precision. She could spin, dive, and dodge in ways that would tear apart any human-built spacecraft. The crew's bodies would have been crushed by the G-forces, if not for the ship's internal gravity systems that compensated for every movement. They tested the weapons. Next, Dr. Bora had arranged for a test target, a large asteroid that had been nudged into near-Earth space specifically for this purpose. Juan locked onto it with the main cannon, a weapon that used focused gravitational waves to literally tear matter apart at the atomic level. Target locked, Juan said. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The ship barely shuddered when the weapon fired. There was no dramatic recoil, no sound in the vacuum of space. But the asteroid simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a chunk of rock and ice the size of a football stadium. The next moment, it was an expanding cloud of dust and particles. Dear God, Minji whispered. That was a kilometer-wide asteroid, and we erased it like it was nothing. And that was just one gun, Juan added. We have 6 more just like it, plus dozens of smaller weapons. The Talvith built this ship to fight other warships. Against anything humans have, we would be unstoppable. But Hien Wu was not thinking about fighting humans. He was thinking about the Talvith themselves. For decades they had terrorized Earth, confident in their superiority. They had taken people, stolen resources, and treated humanity like animals in a zoo. Now the animals had teeth. Over the next 6 months, the test flights continued. Each one taught them something new about the ship's capabilities. They learned to push the engines harder, to fire multiple weapons simultaneously, to coordinate complex maneuvers that would have been impossible for separate human pilots. The neural interface allowed them to think and react as one being, but the indomitable was not enough. One warship, no matter how powerful, could not stand against the entire Talvith fleet. Humanity needed more ships. Using everything they had learned from rebuilding the Indomitable, construction began on new vessels. These new ships were not pure alien technology. They were hybrids, combining Talvith innovations with human engineering. They were smaller than the Indomitable, easier to build and crew. They could not match the flagship's raw power. But they were still far superior to anything humanity had possessed before. The shipyards were built on the far side of the moon. Hidden from Earth-based telescopes and Talvith surveillance, thousands of workers lived in temporary habitats operating the construction facilities around the clock. It was the largest space project in human history, and it was all done in complete secrecy. 8 months after the Indomitable's first flight, Hien Wu stood on his ship's bridge and watched 5 other warships move into formation around him. They were beautiful in their own way, sleek and deadly. The Unity, the Defiant Spirit, the Rising Phoenix, the Storm's Edge, and the Last Stand, each one crewed by volunteers who had trained as hard as Hien Wu's team. "All ships report ready," Mingy announced from her station. "We are receiving the coordinates now from Earth Command." Hien Wu studied the tactical display that appeared in his mind through the neural interface. Intelligence had finally located a Talvith forward operating base at the edge of the solar system. It was hidden in the Kuiper Belt, disguised as a research station, but actually serving as the staging ground for all Talvith operations in Earth's region of space. For decades, ships had launched from that base to raid Earth. Abductees had been processed there. Stolen resources had been stored there. "All ships, this is Indomitable," Hien Wu said, his voice carrying to every crew through the communication network. "For too long, we have been prey. Today that ends. Today we show the Talvith what happens when you underestimate humanity. Set course for the target. Maximum speed." 6 warships turned as one and accelerated toward the outer solar system. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. Ahead of them, the Talvith base sat in the darkness, completely unaware that humanity was coming for revenge. The journey to the Kuiper Belt took 3 days, even at the incredible speeds the human warships could achieve. 3 days of nervous preparation, weapons checks, and simulation after simulation. Hien Wu spent most of that time connected to the Indomitable systems, studying every detail of the Talvith base they were about to attack. The base was massive. Built into an asteroid the size of a small moon, it had been the Talvith's foothold in Earth's solar system for over 40 years. Its shields could withstand bombardment from conventional weapons. Its guns could shoot down missiles from thousands of kilometers away. It was supposed to be impregnable. A symbol of Talvith power that reminded humanity of its place in the galaxy. Hien Wu was about to change that. "Dropping out of faster than light in 10 seconds, Tai Young announced. The rest of the crew tensed, knowing that the moment they appeared, the base's sensors would detect them. There would be no element of surprise, no chance to scout the situation. They would arrive, and the battle would begin immediately. 5 seconds, Tai Yang counted down. 3, 2, 1, now. Space twisted around them as the 6 human warships dropped back into normal reality. The Talvith base appeared on their sensors immediately, exactly where intelligence had predicted. It was enormous, covered in weapon platforms and shield generators. Dozens of smaller ships were docked at various ports along its surface. Alarms started screaming inside the base. The Talvith had never expected to see their own technology coming at them piloted by humans. For a few precious seconds, they simply stared in confusion at their sensors. "They are hailing us," Minji said. "Audio only." "Put them through," Hyenwu ordered. The voice that came over the speakers was harsh, reptilian, and shocked. "Impossible. That is the Sovereign's fury. That wreck should have been destroyed by your planet's geology. How did you primitives manage to even find it, let alone repair it?" High Commander Vexther appeared on the main view screen. He was tall, even for a Talvith, with dark scales and cybernetic implants running along his skull. His eyes, yellow and slit like a snake's, stared at the human ships with growing realization and horror. "You did not just repair it," Vexther said slowly. "You rebuilt it. You understood our technology. You learned from it, and you built more ships." He leaned forward, his clawed hands gripping his command chair. "You were supposed to be primitive, pre-industrial, barely capable of spaceflight. How is this possible?" Hyunwoo felt the weight of centuries of human oppression behind his words. Every person abducted in the night. Every resource stolen without permission. Every time the Talvith had treated Earth like their personal property, he let all of that anger fuel his response. "You thought we were weak because we did not have fancy ships? You thought we were stupid because we did not have your technology. You were wrong on both counts. We are very good at learning, Vexther. And we are very, very good at holding grudges. This is your only warning. Leave our solar system. Leave our space. Never come back to Earth. If we see a single Talvith ship near our planet again, we will hunt down your entire fleet and teach you what real fear feels like." Vexther, as shock turned to rage. His scales darkened, and his implants began to glow. "You dare threaten the Talvith hegemony? We are a civilization spanning 10,000 worlds. We have conquered species far more advanced than you. You are nothing but upstart apes who stumbled onto technology you cannot possibly understand. I will grind your ships to dust and use the remains as a warning to any other primitive species that dares to challenge us." Hyenwu smiled coldly. "Then let's dance. Gi wunt, light them up." The battle began in a flash of impossible violence. The Indomitable's main cannons spoke first, gravitational waves tearing through space at near light speed. The base's shields flared and held, but just barely. The other 5 human ships opened fire a second later. Their weapons coordinated through the neural network that linked all their crews. The Talvith returned fire with everything they had: energy beams, missiles, kinetic projectiles, and weapons that bent space itself. The human ships scattered, their alien-derived engines, allowing them to dodge with inhuman precision. Lieutenant Yuna, commanding the Defiant Spirit, executed a maneuver that would have been impossible in any human-built craft. She micro-jumped directly behind the base's defensive line, appearing in a flash of twisted space-time. "Hitting their rear shields," Yuna reported, her voice tight with concentration. "They are weaker here," focusing fire on power distribution nodes. Engineer Sunwoo on the Rising Phoenix had studied the base's design for months. He knew exactly where to hit. His ship's weapons lanced out, striking specific points on the base's hull. Explosions blossomed across the asteroid's surface as power conduits overloaded.
Ow.
"Their shield grid is fluctuating," Minji called out. "Multiple sections losing power. If we hit them now with concentrated fire, we can punch through." Hyunwoo felt the battle through his neural link, processing information faster than any human should be able to. He saw the paths of 1,000 weapons, predicted the movement of enemy ships, calculated firing solutions that accounted for relativity and quantum uncertainty. The Indomitable was not just responding to his commands anymore. They were thinking together, human intuition and alien computing power working as one. "All ships, focus fire on Section 7, Hyenwu ordered. "Maximum power. Let's show them what we learned from their own technology." 6 warships fired as one entity. Their weapons struck the base's weakened shields at exactly the same instant, in exactly the same location. For a moment, the shield held, glowing brighter than a sun. Then it shattered like glass. The energy beams continued through, cutting deep into the asteroid itself. Secondary explosions ripped through the base. Atmosphere vented into space. Entire sections went dark as power failed. The Talvith ships that had been docked began emergency launches, desperate to escape the carnage. Hyanwu let them go. This was not about genocide. This was about sending a message. Their main reactor is going critical, Jiwan reported. The base is going to blow in less than 2 minutes. All ships pull back to safe distance, Hyanwu commanded. Vexther, if you are still alive in there, this is your chance to evacuate. We are not monsters. We do not murder helpless opponents, but if we ever see you near Earth again, we will not be so merciful. Escape pods began launching from the dying base. Dozens of them, small craft carrying the Talvith survivors to safety. Hyanwu made sure his ships did not fire on them. Let them escape. Let them carry the story back to their empire. Let them tell everyone what happened when humanity finally had enough. The base's reactor went critical in a spectacular display of destruction. The asteroid split apart, massive chunks of rock and metal spinning off in all directions. The explosion was visible from Earth. A brief new star that appeared in the night sky and then faded. In the silence that followed, Hyanwu's crew sat stunned. They had done it. They had actually done it. A single engagement against a fortified Talvith base, and humanity had won. Damage report, Hyanwu said, his voice surprisingly steady. Minor hits to our forward shields, Mingi replied. Nothing serious. The other ships are reporting similar damage. Storm's Edge took a direct hit, but their armor held. Everyone is still flight capable. Hyunwoo leaned back in his command chair, feeling the neural interface disconnect as he allowed himself to relax. His head throbbed from the intense concentration, but he was grinning. They were all grinning. Set course for Earth, he ordered. Nice and slow. Let's give every Talvith sensor in the system a good look at us. I want them to see us coming home victorious. I want them to understand that humanity is not prey anymore. As the 6 warships turned toward home, a priority communication came through from Earth. Dr. Bora's face appeared on the screen, and she was smiling wider than Hyanwu had ever seen. You are famous, she said. Every intelligence network in the Talvith sphere just went on maximum alert. They are calling you the human anomaly. They thought they had humanity completely figured out. They thought they knew everything about us. But they never imagined we could do this. They never thought we would dare fight back. And now they are terrified. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. Minji, Juan, Taiyang, all of them exhausted but triumphant. He thought about all the people on Earth watching their return. He thought about every human who had ever suffered under Talvith arrogance. Good, he said simply. Let them be terrified. Fear is a start. Respect comes next. And after that, maybe they will finally leave us alone. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the Talvith forward base. 6 months of humanity holding its collective breath, waiting for the revenge strike that never came. The Talvith hegemony, for all their power and pride, had not retaliated. Instead, they had done something that surprised every analyst on Earth. They had requested a diplomatic meeting. Fleet Commander Hyanwu stood in the newly constructed orbital shipyard. Watching construction crews work on the latest generation of human warships, through the massive windows of the observation deck, he could see dozens of vessels in various stages of completion. Some were pure human designs, built from the ground up using principles learned from the Indomitable. Others were hybrids that combined the best of both civilizations' technology. Dr. Bora joined him at the window, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. She passed one to him, and they stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the workers in their spacesuits dance across the hull of a ship that would have been science fiction 2 years ago. We came so far, Bora said softly. I still remember the day the Talvith ship crashed. We thought it was the end of the world. We thought they would come to retrieve it and punish us for even looking at it. Instead, it became the beginning of everything new. Hyanwu sipped his coffee, thinking about how much had changed. He was no longer just a military commander. He was the face of humanity's new place in the galaxy, the person who had proven that humans could stand up to alien empires and win. The responsibility weighed on him, but he wore it willingly. How did the diplomatic talks go? Ambassador Soman had been at the negotiating table for 3 weeks. Working through the complex details of humanity's first official treaty with an alien civilization, Bora smiled. Better than we hoped. The Talvith want to establish formal relations. They are proposing a treaty that would recognize Earth's sovereignty and grant us protected status in galactic law. No more raids. No more abductions. No more treating us like animals. Protected status, Hanwoo repeated, tasting the words. Like we are children who need their permission to exist. What is their way of saving face, Bora explained. They cannot admit they were wrong about us, so they are rewriting history. Suddenly, we were always a developing civilization that deserved respect. The raids were unauthorized actions by rogue elements. The High Command had no idea it was happening. It is all lies, of course, but lies that benefit us. They will officially recognize Earth as an independent power. Give us access to some of their trade networks. And most importantly, they will stay away from our space. Hyunwoo understood politics well enough to see the game being played. The Talvith were terrified that if they admitted weakness, other species might rebel. Better to pretend humanity had always been worthy of respect than to admit they had been wrong. As long as Earth got what it needed, Hyunwoo did not care what stories the aliens told themselves. A young officer burst into the observation deck, his face flushed with excitement. Commander, we have received a signal. It is a distress call from a system 12 light-years away. The message is in broken English. Someone down there has been monitoring our broadcasts. They are under attack and asking for help. The observation deck fell silent. Everyone present understood the weight of this moment. Humanity had fought for its own freedom, rebuilt alien technology, forced one of the galaxy's great powers to acknowledge them as equals. But what would they do for strangers? What kind of civilization did humanity want to be? Hyunwoo set down his coffee and turned to the officer. Show me the message. They moved to the command center where the signal was being analyzed. The audio was garbled, pieced together from what sounded like a dozen different sources, as whoever sent it tried to learn English on the fly. But the meaning was clear enough. Please help. Talvith ships attacking our world. We are not fighters. We are scientists, artists, farmers. We cannot defend ourselves. We have been watching your broadcasts. You stood up to them. You won. Please, if you can hear this, help us. The room was quiet. Hyunwoo looked around at the faces of his staff. Lieutenant Minji was there, along with Dr. Bora, Engineer Hannah, and several of the captains from the other warships. They were all thinking the same thing. For decades, humanity had been victims. They had been the ones crying for help, while the galaxy ignored them. Now they had power. They had warships and weapons, and the ability to make a difference. The question was simple, but profound. Would they use that power only to protect themselves? Or would they become the help they had wished for when they were helpless? Minji spoke first. We have to go. We know what it is like to be on the receiving end of Talvith aggression. How can we just ignore someone else suffering the same way we did? The treaty is not finalized yet, someone pointed out. If we attack Talvith forces, even to protect another species, we could restart the war. Then let it restart, Hyunwoo said firmly. We did not build these ships just to hang them in orbit as decoration. We built them to protect ourselves, and to make sure no one else has to suffer what we suffered. If the Talvith have a problem with us helping their victims, they can come talk to us about it. With their diplomats, or with their warships. Either way, we are ready. He turned to face his assembled crew. I am taking Indomitable to respond to this distress call. Any ship that wants to join me is welcome. Any crew that wants to volunteer is welcome. But I will not order anyone to come. This is not about defending Earth. This is about choosing what kind of people we want to be. The response was immediate. Every captain volunteered their ship. Every crew volunteered to fly. Within an hour, a fleet was being assembled. Not just the 6 warships that had fought at the Kuiper Belt, but new vessels, fresh from the shipyards. Crewed by volunteers who had trained for this exact moment, Hyunwoo sat in the Indomitable's command chair and connected to the neural interface. The ship's consciousness merged with his, and he felt its eagerness. The Indomitable had been born as a weapon of conquest, but under human guidance it had become something different. A protector. A defender of those who could not defend themselves. All ships. This is indomitable, Haiyan-Wu transmitted. We are about to do something unprecedented. We are going to fight for people we have never met, on a world we have never seen. For no benefit other than knowing it is the right thing to do. The Talvith will call us fools. They will say, we are wasting our resources on strangers. They might even see this as an act of war. But I believe humanity is better than that. I believe we can be the civilization that helps, not because we gain something from it, but because help is needed. The fleet formed up around the Indomitable. 12 warships now, each one carrying human crews and human determination. They turned toward the coordinates of the distress signal and engaged their faster-than-light drives as they jumped away from Earth. Dr. Bora sent a final transmission. Good luck, Commander. The whole world is watching. Show the galaxy what humanity stands for. The journey took 4 days. For days of preparation, training, and planning for a battle against an unknown number of Talvith ships. When they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found themselves in orbit around a beautiful blue-green planet not too different from Earth, and they found 6 Talvith warships bombarding its surface. Scan the planet, Haiyan-Wu ordered. What are we looking at? Population centers under attack, Minji reported. Millions of people down there. The Talvith are targeting cities, infrastructure, anything organized. It is not a military operation. They are terrorizing the population into submission. Haiyan-Wu felt rage build in his chest. This was exactly what the Talvith had done to Earth for decades. Taking what they wanted and destroying anyone who resisted. Not anymore. Not while humanity had the power to stop it. All ships, weapons free, he commanded. Target the Talvith vessels. Disable them if possible, destroy them if necessary. And broadcast this message on all frequencies. The people of this world are under the protection of humanity. Any force that threatens them will answer to us. The 12 human warships swept down on the Talvith fleet like avenging angels. The aliens were caught completely off guard. They had been bullying a defenseless world, confident in their superiority. They had not expected anyone to come to the rescue, and they certainly had not expected humans. The battle was short. The Talvith ships tried to fight back, but they were outmatched. The human crews had trained for this, planned for this, dreamed of this moment, when they could use their hard-won power to protect instead of just survive. 3 Talvith ships were disabled, their engines destroyed and crews forced to surrender. 2 more were destroyed when they refused to stand down. The last ship ran, jumping to faster-than-light speed and fleeing the system, as the smoke cleared. Haiyan-Wu received a transmission from the planet below. The video showed a crowd of aliens, their appearance completely different from humans, but their expressions of gratitude universal. They were crying, cheering, holding up their children to see the ships in orbit. Thank you, their leader said, speaking through a translation device. Thank you for coming. Thank you for caring about strangers. We thought we were alone. We thought no one would help us.